or they've even hung up on me and say, no, we don't serve wheelchairs.
We don't serve your kind around here.
Yeah, exactly.
What's wrong with you, boy?
And they hang up. And I'm like flabbergasted. I can't.
Welcome to
Wheel
Stutter and Blindly. Still trying to find a place, but in his space we have Chris from HandiCup.
Nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
As a tradition, we're gonna start it off with playing a game.
Oh, did you see that?
So Dante has a video from the internet. He's going to play it. We're going to close our eyes and we're going to try to guess what's happening in the video just by audio.
You ready?
Ready.
That's a false start. Hey, one of his legs are asleep, isn't they?
What do you think it is?
What do you think it is, Chris?
Somebody's doing some kind of stunt, and it kind of went south, and they're dealing with the aftermath of whatever the stunt or whatever the thing was.
That's a fair. I think people would playing some type of ball game that involves a ball, and at the end of it hit a car window.
Is it some guy with a disability with one leg and he's in a foot race or something and then he fell on his head?
Playing soccer?
All right, what do we got? Let's see what's up.
Something smashed the window.
Here we go.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's a race.
That's a false start. Hey, one of his legs are asleep, isn't they?
Oh! That got hurt.
I would like to point out that this is outside of an inn in the UK. It looks like. So they're obviously had a few fucking beers here and said, "I can beat you in a foot race."
Thing? What is that thing? Like
It's a bus stop, like a bus
stop.
a bus stop. Yeah. So for those listening at home, two drunk guys in the UK did a foot race, and the one guy ran into a bus shelter. That was what the thump.
Not only did he run into it, he ran through it.
This podcast is brought to you by Plunder Road. Plunder Road. A truth is in the cards.
And you can get 3 free packs if you use our code WSB at checkout. Link is in the description. All right, paid the bills. Let's go.
So, how's it going, Chris? Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
And we want to explain a little bit about yourself and your company first.
My name is Chris Stigas, and I guess I'm known for the inventor of the HandiCup. It's just a wheelchair cup holder that I created for myself, and everywhere that I went, somebody was always like, "Where'd you get that? Where'd you get that? Where'd you get that?" And I decided to make one for one person, 2 people, 3 people.
And then just
and the next thing you know,
It's like, why am I giving this shit away for free?
I'm like, maybe there's something here. And so now I have 9 colors and
Nice.
And a website, and I always match my shoes with my cup holder. That's kind of my look, and
There you go.
and that's and that's that. Yeah.
Nice.
amazing.
But unfortunately, that's not why you're here today.
No.
No.
You were on the news yesterday on CTV, and
Talk about accessible cabs.
On those concerns, we're joined in studio by Chris Stigas, founder of HandiCup. Great to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
yeah, on-demand metered
Or
accessible taxi cabs in Toronto.
yeah, or the lack of.
There you go.
We were asking for equal waiting times. So, 10-minute waiting times equal to what people that were just calling a taxi would be expect. But now it's totally deteriorated. Now there's no taxis at all. Never mind the 10-minute waiting time.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't even get a cab.
Well, not only that, like I was involved in advocacy back in 2014 because in 2015 we had a major event coming to Toronto. It was the Pan Am Games and the Pan Am Games. But anyways, we were trying to tell them like, hey, look, the city's going to look like a disgrace here because you have no infrastructure at all. And so they changed the MLS, the Municipal Licensing Standards Act so that by the year 2025, the taxi fleet would be 100% accessible.
Mm-hmm.
But after the games, then the next year was an election, they reverted the standards back to the 1992 standards of, oh, well, you're on your own kind of deal, right?
Right.
Also, when Uber came along, there's a lot of taxi companies like Beck, et cetera, trying to push against Uber. And Uber said that they would take care of the wheelchair accessibility or lack of wheelchair accessibility problems here in the city. That was great until I noticed the pandemic. I don't know if you noticed a change after the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Before then, I could order a cab on Uber and have it at my door. I live downtown by Trinity Bellwoods Park, and I could have a cab to my door around 10 or just under 10 minutes, sometimes even faster. But I noticed that once the pandemic happened, it's just not there anymore.
Yeah, I had the exact same experience prior to the pandemic. I lived downtown as well, and I could get a cab easily in less than 10 minutes, sometimes, as you said, quicker. But after the pandemic, for a while there, it became almost impossible to get a ride, and now you're sort of at the 20-minute mark, 30-minute mark.
Oh,
if you can get a ride, and if they pick it up.
Is it because there's such a high demand, and there's not enough accessible vans? Is that the problem?
the city of Toronto has come out and said there's a 40% decrease in accessible cabs on the road.
Yeah, but why?
Exactly what you were talking about, where Uber said that they will take care of the disability community. They had a program in place where if their drivers did an X amount of rides per week, then Uber would pay the lease, and then Uber would pay the insurance for their rides. So this incentivized people that had no vehicle. They could get a free vehicle paid for, drive, earn a living, and everybody, it was a win-win situation. During the pandemic, I forget what it was. I think it's 40 rides a week. They weren't able to do that 40 rides a week. Mm-hmm. So that program, that leasing program that included their insurance, got canceled. And once the pandemic was over, they never brought that program back.
Right.
So all those vehicles would age out in 10 years. And this is where we are now, where all those vehicles have aged out and they're off the road, and there's no incentive for these Uber wheelchair accessible van drivers to come back online, because they'd have to, unlike UberX, they'd have to purchase a wheelchair accessible van, and they're not into that.
Right, and we should get into that. Like the cost of a wheelchair accessible van, minivan, purchase of the van and then purchasing for the modification probably run you anywhere from $120,000 to $130,000 Canadian. Mm-hmm. If you ever take an Uber, doesn't matter if it's accessible, a share, UberX, if you look at your receipt, you'll see an accessibility surcharge.
Yeah.
So everybody pays into this surcharge, which is 10 cents a ride. That's not bad. All that money was to go into a slush fund, which now is around $20 million.
Yeah, correct.
But the city of Toronto does not know where that money is, or have not acknowledged where that money is. So there's a little bit of, hey, what's going on here?
Money.
Right? Like, seeing that money was to be used towards accessibility. So if you have a driver that's willing to run a wheelchair accessible cab, that money for the modification of the vehicle was supposed to go to that.
Right.
So, you know, it's about $55,000 for the modification. So, you know, Chris, you want to drive a wheelchair accessible car? You know, you put your application in. Okay, here you go. Here's the money. Now you're a wheelchair accessible taxi on the street. But they're not doing that.
They're not doing anything. They're holding on to that money. They don't know how to release it. They don't know how to give it to the drivers. And it's just sort of sitting there. And, you know, the tragedy in that is that there's an upcoming world-class event coming to our city with FIFA. And, you know, basically people that use mobility devices are going to be excluded from moving around or being able to call a taxi on the fly.
Yeah.
You know, similar to what anybody else would be able to call a cab and move around. That's not going to be the experience that people who use wheelchairs are going to have this summer when FIFA's here.
Are taxi companies in the same situation Uber is in?
Okay, that's
Can we
all.
talk about
That's a whole nother ball of wax.
Okay.
Like, tell me your experience on say ordering a Beck. Chris, what's your experience on ordering a Beck wheelchair accessible cab?
So prior to, I think April. Prior to April, you could easily call Beck, and for the most part, they'd have an accessible taxi to you in 10 minutes or less.
Wow.
And
I've never had that experience.
with Beck,
No.
and after their vehicles have
April
now.
this year?
Yeah,
This year.
yeah.
April 2026.
Me, I could call Beck and they'd have a cab for me in like roughly 10 minutes.
How
Wow.
come it changed?
Special privileges, my friend.
How come it changed?
I used to call and they'd say, hey, we have no guarantee.
Yeah.
We might be there, we might
And
not.
they canceled.
And it would be anywhere between 10 minutes and 2 hours.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm going to say 95% of the time, I ended up canceling from them because it was just, I would have the Beck app open, I would have the Uber app open, and I would have what's the red one? It's the one with the taxi and Crown and anyways, there's like 3 or 4 different companies in this one app. I would have all 3 up. And quite often it would be like, okay, it looks like I'm taking the subway.
For me, that wasn't really an issue, but now, since those vehicles have aged out, and you call, I hate to be name dropping all the time, but if you call Beck,
Yeah.
they tell you that they have no vehicles and to call the city MLS.
Yeah. I haven't had that.
Or they've even hung up on me. Say no, we don't serve people. We don't serve wheelchairs.
We don't serve your kind around here.
Yeah, exactly.
What's wrong with you, boy?
And they hang up. And I'm like flabbergasted. I can't even believe that they're like,
That's
no,
wild.
call the city or we don't serve wheelchairs. Boom.
They don't serve wheelchairs.
I know. I couldn't believe it.
So I'm sure you're just like me. You take them, quite frequently, but you get to know the actual drivers, right?
I know all the drivers.
Yeah. So myself, personally, what I do is like, hey, give me your number and I'll WhatsApp you.
Of course.
And then like we'll get a drive. So for you and I, that's beneficial. But if you're somebody coming from the city that
You won't get a ride.
you don't know anything, you won't get a ride. And like I have done this where I call my buddy and he comes to pick me up, let's say the Rogers Center. So I'm sitting outside the Marriott at the Rogers Center. He's right beside me. I open up the Uber app and I request a ride and they will not give me a ride. They tell me there are no drivers on the street
Even though he's
that are working. He's sitting right there
I have that
with
too.
his program
Is his app open?
And then not only that, I know 2 other guys that are driving around downtown. So there's 3 drivers downtown, but they tell me nobody right now.
why?
I have no idea. Maybe it's like Brian Holtzman. They don't come out at night, these people.
Yeah, but there are people on the app.
Right.
Your friend has the app.
It'll come up and say, no, nobody's working. There's no rides available.
And what about him? He's open.
Well, this is what he's saying. He's like, why am I not getting rides through this?
Okay. So it's like lockout. Lack of a better word.
Right. And I
blackout.
myself really noticed it after the pandemic.
Yeah.
After the pandemic, it's been extremely difficult to get an accessible ride.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Does this fall under AOTA by any chance?
It's more of a human rights.
Oh, for sure.
AOTA
It's
is
human
human-
rights. 100%.
AOTA is human rights also.
But like all public services are supposed
Yeah.
to be not even public, private. Like private businesses are supposed to be accessible.
Well, it's also if you offer a service to people who are ambulatory, you need to offer the same or equal service to a person with a disability.
Right.
You can't have like if you go to a club and have a VIP section that's up 5 flights of stairs and then not have a VIP section for
Yeah.
Have you ever traveled to Vancouver?
Yeah.
The cab company there should be a model for the country, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like I remember my first time going there, get out of the airport and I'm waiting for a cab, and the first one that comes up is a wheelchair accessible cab.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh wow, this is crazy, but there's 2 people in front of me. And the guy comes out, he opens up the back, pulls the ramp out, and then grabs the person at the front of the line and their luggage and puts it in the back. I'm like, whoa, buddy, like, you know, I need to be in there. And the guy just looked at me and laughed. He goes, almost every cab coming through here is accessible.
Wow.
We can store the luggage in the back, and if not, then we can store you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was like, this is freaking amazing. So just one of the issues that have been highlighted recently was in March 2026.
I was there.
At the Rick Hansen Foundation's APN conference. It took place downtown Toronto. You maybe talk about that a little bit, and what happened during that.
Well, there's people from all over the country and even people internationally that attended this accessibility conference to talk about all things accessible. And when the conference was over, people wanted to get to their hotels or go out for dinner or enjoy the city. There's all these wheelchair users, and nobody could get a ride.
Where was the event being hosted?
Metro Toronto Convention Center.
Which is in the heart of the city.
Right.
It's right beside Union Station. People wanted to catch a show, catch a restaurant.
The hotel, let's say hotel.
They wanted to live their
They
life.
want to live their life. Okay.
Imagine that.
To come to a major
They
city.
want to do something that people like I take for granted.
Yeah, of course. Just live their life. Call a cab and go for dinner.
Yeah.
You know, just like you would any other city.
Have you ever, now that you say the Metro Convention Center, Jared and I actually were invited to this gala fundraiser thing at the Metro Convention. It was back in the winter time. And so I ended up getting a cab, and it was through Taxi. And when we got to the Metro Convention, I could not understand why this cab driver was like, are you going to need a ride later? Are you going to need a ride later? And I'm like, well, I might need one. He's like, oh, well, here's my card, and make sure you call me, and I'll make sure you get home and everything. And it's like really cold. And I'm like, what is going on? I've never had this type of service, but this is great. So we get to this gala. We're sitting there. My phone dings. I look at it. It's an email receipt from the cab company. They charged me $35 to go from Trinity Bellwoods to Front and Spadina, basically. $35. And I'm like, well, no wonder the guy's got a heart on to take me home, because he just me coming down. Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but whatever. He stuck it to me on the way down. Figuratively. Allegedly.
Well, I think...
have you had that where they just charge you $30?
Yeah, well, you spoke about Vancouver, and Vancouver has that from the airport. There's different zones. And instead of a person who uses a wheelchair paying the meter rate, you pay like a $40 rate, a $55 rate.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, depending on what zone you're going to in Vancouver. So I've had it where I've been in Vaughan or I've been in Mississauga or Oakville, and they're like, it's $40 to get in, and then we'll start the meter. And whatever the meter does, and it's $40 right off the hop. So,
how come Wheel-Trans doesn't operate like the TTC?
Well, that's something we should talk about.
That's a whole nother issue, right?
Well,
because somebody asked, why don't you just take Wheel-Trans everywhere instead of wanting a cab?
Yeah,
you already have your
Wheel-Trans requires you to book a ride 24 hours in advance. So, I mean, you could forget.
Yeah.
And things come up.
Yeah.
And maybe you just want to take a ride on the fly. You know, just be spontaneous and go somewhere. And you
can't be spontaneous.
You can't be with Wheel-Trans. And a lot of times, a half-hour ride has to pick someone else up, drop someone else off, and your half-hour ride turns into an hour and a half.
I call it going on a scenic tour of Toronto.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to go to a Blue Jays game, but I had to do an hour and a half of touring around downtown. I I personally have not taken Wheel-Trans since about 2000,
Kind of like taking Uber
2009.
Yeah, it's got its purpose, but I mean, if you want to get somewhere, like I'm sure everybody in this very busy, you need to be picked up and go where you need to go, door to door, right?
Yeah.
I don't have time to I got things to do,
Right.
go on a tour of the city.
Yeah.
But not only that, like there's times where they're an hour late picking you up.
Yeah.
There's
And they
times
rush
where
you. They're an hour early pick you up.
there's times where I've had them lie and say, "Oh, he wasn't there," and they just never came and picked me up.
Yep.
I was abandoned at frickin' Dufferin Mall for like 8 hours with my son one time.
It's unreliable.
Like, it's a horrible, horrible thing.
Well, see what you get on the subway, and that's the service you're going to get
Right.
in wheelchair.
But that's another thing, though, that we should just touch on briefly. Like, if you talk to the city, the municipal licensing standards, they will say right now that there is 500 accessible taxis on the road,
No way.
which is a 40% decrease to what it was. So they've acknowledged that. But one thing they don't account for is the accessible taxis that are on the road that are under contract to Wheel-Trans.
All of them, probably.
So those people,
right.
those people make about $100,000 a year from Wheel-Trans having their contract. Okay, they're not available for like Chris to call and say, "Hey, come pick me up." They have to be booked the 24 hours in advance, right? But they try to lump it in, saying, "Well, I don't know what your problem is. There's 500 accessible cabs on the road," but we'll say 70% of those are under contract to the Wheel-Trans. There's not the independent people that we need.
Is there a reason why it's a 24-hour call time, or
It's whatever their platform is that they use for booking rides and how they allocate where the buses are going to go.
Well, they're stuck in the 1970s.
It's,
Right.
it's an archaic platform. They need to have something that operates in real time, where you book a Wheel-Trans
Right.
like an Uber, and whatever Wheel-Trans is in your
But
area.
here's another thing, though, that Wheel-Trans has been doing. We touched on this on another podcast.
Yeah.
They are now deciding whether or not you deserve
Oh, that's
to
another.
be on Wheel-Trans and to how far you can go. If they pass an accessible subway station and your stop is accessible, they may stop at this subway station and say, "Get out and go."
Yeah, but how
But-
many times at the subway station the elevator's not working?
Where the elevator's not working, or
Or
there's
the central
there's a
Plunder.
huge gap between the subway and the platform, and you get stuck in it. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but it's happened to me. But it's first off, you provide a transportation company. You don't provide a medical diagnosis on what I should do and what I shouldn't do.
How you find this solution in this?
You got to write to the city, write to your mayor. You can write to your councillor, and you can attend the TAC, the Toronto
If you
Accessible Advisory Council meeting, and say, what's the plan for people with disabilities for accessible taxis? Like they're
what
high.
would your plan be?
My plan
If
is
you were in charge of it, how would you handle this?
how would I handle this? I would mandate that the accessible taxi companies have at least 15 or 20% of their fleet be accessible. And I would also mandate that if Uber wants to operate in this city, then they have to bring that program back because it was working. It's not like we're asking them to recreate something. It's already been working. It was working great. Just copy it and do it again. Bring it back.
And
I would I would just add, you have $20 million
Yeah.
that is allocated to these drivers so they
put your
can
money where your mouth
provide a
is.
service and they can also make a living and feed their families.
Yeah.
Up the cash. Where is it? We want to know where it is and how come it hasn't been allocated to these drivers and services.
Have you guys seen those Scientology
Yeah.
videos? The speed runs?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You
Yeah.
want to speed run the
City Hall?
Video or
City
something
Hall?
like that, wherever the
I'm
figure
down.
out where the money is, which room is.
I'm down. So, Chris, who do we contact for more
Yeah.
information on the subject?
Well, information you can write to Jamal Myers, who's the chair at the
TTC?
the TTC, the Toronto Advisory Accessibility Council.
Maybe reach out to the MLS, which is the Municipal License and Standards Committee at Toronto. They're responsible for the taxi permits, issuing licenses.
And write your mayor. Write the mayor. Write Olivia
Yeah,
Chow.
write her.
You know?
Write her, tweet her, send her a DM, blow that shit up because this is fucked.
It's an important issue.
Yeah,
Right.
how can we not get a ride? Like,
Yeah.
it's 2026, Toronto, major city. You can't get a taxi. Like, they hang up on you.
But why can't the drivers get some of that $20 million? Where is that money?
Yeah, 100%.
What's going on?
They
Where's
can't
the-
find it. They
where's the
can't
money?
find it. Thank you, Chris, for coming and sharing the information that you have.
Thank you so much for having me. Nice to see you guys.
Thank you. Bye.